What's going on, everybody? I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, I want to kind of talk about what's going on in my space, my bubble, and share what's going on. I've been really focusing a lot of attention on sitting with difficult feelings and emotions, and it's been very beneficial. I have like almost a nostalgic feeling, kind of like how I felt when I was a kid. Things like are feeling brighter, and there's a better energy in the air. And by continuously letting go of these, I wouldn't say emotion, just these things that are preventing just being happy right now, just feeling at peace right now, just feeling full of joy. A lot of times you get these thoughts, but what I've been realizing more and more so is that the thought, especially if it's a fear-based thought, stems from an emotion of fear, torment, and really facing that fear head on in the moment. There's really just facing that emotion of maybe separation, your worst fear, the trauma that you're trying to suppress. A lot of this, it's not really stuff that's added to you right now. It's more of stuff that's just bags of bricks that I've been carrying, that through surrender and letting go, ultimately God's in control of everything, including my flow of life, what's going on, and just trusting more. And in that trusting process, realize that God's already gave me everything. Just being more like grateful, I guess, for realizing that more and more, and then also realizing that when these outer maybe events, circumstances, people, whatever, trigger some sort of a reaction in my mind that makes me all of a sudden want to attack, realize that is a corresponding thought to a fear emotion. And instead of trying to suppress that emotion or feel, a lot of times I've caught this pattern in myself because I try to do what God wants me to do to my best of my ability, and with that there's a lot of guilt and shame. It's like, I had a thought, and I'm gonna fight it, I'm gonna battle it because I feel guilty for feeling this particular way. And instead of just and what would happen is I quickly suppress it, and like, I don't want to feel that. That's wrong to feel this way. God's not going to be happy if I feel this way. And this has been a process, where it's like in the past, it's just been like fears of people, circumstance, evil, all sorts of different things. It's a process, but this is where I'm at in the process, and that has to do with letting go of a lot of this poisonous emotions. And I don't even want to just label it like that. It's just they're emotions that stem from a false concept, and that comes from the ego mind that likes to view everything in separation. And because it views things in separation instead of oneness, there's a tremendous fear that is a result. And healing that by extending love to these emotions, really sitting, it's like, what's the worst fear I could possibly fear? And it's already in me. I can already feel it. I keep suppressing it. I keep trying to avoid it, through addictions, through being busy. That's something I notice I've fall into these patterns of just overworking just to keep my mind on, whatever, just staying occupied, keeping the body busy, instead of like, processing these emotions that I'm just kind of avoiding. And it's like, when is the time to deal with these? The time's now. And so, interesting audiobook. It's no longer on YouTube, but it might be in the future. Is Letting Go: The Pathway to Surrender. I think it's still on Audible. I think if you have an Audible account, you can check that out. It's David Hawkins' book. He also has the Hawkins Scale of Consciousness. I've showed that on this channel before, but it's worth a check. And what that book suggests to do is just to let the emotion of fear, because really, whether it's anger, rage, envy, pride, all these different things, all that comes from identity that is no longer who you are. You're new, but there's these lingering emotions and this guilt and this shit that just needs to be kind of allowed to die. Is maybe one way to look at it. Is where and not like you're the one killing it, but just allowing the emotion and just totally feeling. How would you feel in like the worst case scenario, the thing that you're afraid of the most? Feel it. Feel that emotion, and just don't try to change it. Don't try to do, try to condemn it, judge it. Just let it be, and then just feel that energy start to just almost like a pressure relief valve. Allow it just to come in and out. And as you're doing that, you start to realize that you're just having an emotion, that you aren't that emotion. You're the one witnessing the emotion, and not to be carried away with, oh, I'm a certain way because I felt this. That's part of the old man, the old ego mindset of thinking. Let that go. Surrender it to God ultimately. Just maybe visualize like you and Jesus, you and the Holy Spirit, you and God. However you want to visualize this, it's unique. Unique with your walk. But visualize that you're not alone. It's ultimately you and God are connected, and in that connection, let that emotion be, and surrender it in that moment. Observe it, feel it completely. I've been doing this also with physical pain in my body. Instead of like looking at it like, when will I be healed? Is this permanent? Is this just gonna be something is this gonna get worse? Fear. All these types of things that have mental torment. Looking at the thoughts as being messengers from the emotion. It'd be awesome to get stuck in joy instead of just stuck in anger or fear and stuff like that. But I think that will be a soon realization where that once I'm starting to realize that most of these emotions that I've been kind of avoiding or escaping through drugs and alcohol, in the past. Once it's like you fully just let it hit you, and it's like, I'm still here. It's okay, and it was like it was really intense, but it like the pressure. It's almost like it's like really intense, followed by like a lighter feeling, like it just has gone away, and then the corresponding fear thoughts, not even having those anymore, because it's like the energy of pain or fear or this low vibe kind of pressure. It's also almost helpful to think of it as like a type of energy, just being released, or just dissolving. I don't know how to. It's almost like a pressure relief valve. It's like it's been boiling for however many years, and now it's like face it, surrender it. Not judging it, not judging myself for even feeling these emotions, because ultimately God gave these emotions to me and you and everybody else. And part of this is really just exploring the new creation that you are, and that new creation is one that's connected with God. You're not alone, and you're not the ego. You're not this old man anymore. All of these thoughts and these emotions from the old you. It's almost like, process it, experience it, let it go, and embrace the new. Maybe another way to think of that is like on the other side of that fear is heaven, and heaven's always just coming towards you. Once that fear is gone, then you start seeing it. Another thing that's helpful for me is to realize that only love is actually real. The feeling of fear, is an illusion. That when you just face it, right now, make the decision, for whatever trauma, maybe it's the death of somebody close to you, watching somebody slowly die, maybe it's been, poverty, maybe it's been illness, sickness, who knows what kind of hell you've been through in the old you, whatever that is, sitting there, and instead of hiding from those pains, hiding from those, emotions, projecting that on other people, going, now's the time that I'm going to live my new life. I'm already blessed, and this shit's keeping me from realizing it. So I want it gone. I want to face it. Ultimately just facing it. And from my experience now of doing that continuously for since my if you're new to the channel, my dog ate poison about a week or so ago. She's behind me there. never even got sick, never had any signs of anything wrong. She was perfectly just the normal dog the whole time. But that was a storm for me because I love that dog, and she's like 16, and it opened up a whole can of a whole bunch of shit that I wasn't dealing with, that I was suppressing, that I was like trying to. It's almost like you hit these levels as you're becoming more and more present, where God casts out the fear, and then it's like you level up, and like your perception of reality starts to become different. And where at first, when you were just kind of married with like the ego mind of just everything's separate, and there's this person over here and that person's different, there's that person's skin color's different, so they're different from you, or that person's got no money, they're poor, that person's rich. It's all these separate little things. But the more I've experienced being present, being still, really focusing on loving God, loving people, following what Jesus had to say, I see a lot more oneness. So it's like it's not a bunch of separate things going on. It's just one thing, really. And in that one thing, the less that you view it through a lens of fear, it's almost like, maybe this would be a good example. Let's change the color on this bad boy here. So it's like if you're in the new mind, ultimately in the body of Christ, so you're seeing all this oneness and all this kind of stuff. But until then, it's like you have the inner projecting out. But if you have a bunch of fear in your consciousness, let's do this. It's like if you got a bunch of fear in your consciousness. Oh, let me do a brush. Imagine, just visualize this. You're not a body, but you're a mind. You're a conscious awareness. But like in that conscious awareness, you have all this fear and basically leftover programming from the ego mind that then is kind of distorting the reality. As you're kind of in fear inwardly, you're seeing that illusion more and more so outside of you. But as you start to start to face the fear, it's almost like your vision or your perception of reality that you're walking in the moment. This is all happening now. It starts to become lighter, and it's almost like you start to instead of pushing away love and joy and peace, that has always been there, but now you're just starting to see it more because you're not operating out of this mind. It's almost like this mind corresponds to this turquoise blue, but as you're becoming more and more still and not just getting lost in thought, you observe the thoughts, and as I'm starting to become more aware of, you observe the emotions then too, and allow the emotion, maybe like the intense fear, the whatever you're trying to avoid feeling, just stop and feel it. Just feel it, and who knows how long it'll last. What I've kind of noticed too is like real grief, despair, just I don't know how to. Real sadness is very similar to joy. It's really strange, but like this is different for everybody, I guess. But like for me, it's like really tackling these fears, and facing them, these emotions. It's almost like as you get rid of those by facing it, surrendering it to God, then all of a sudden your perception of reality in the now, you see more oneness, but then you also see less separation, and you start seeing love more and more so. And then it's like, I can just let this stuff go, and it almost feels like going backwards in time in consciousness, where it's like when you're a kid and things just didn't suck and things are bright and lively and full of energy and shit like that, and it's like a real awesome vibe, and it's like, well, I want to get rid of all this stuff, and and realize more and more in the moment I have nothing to do with this process. I don't got to worry about how this unfolds. That's God's got a plan for this, and all I have to do is just be still and you're really just vibing in these higher states of consciousness and realize that you're already those high states of consciousness. The only distortion is the fear that by just letting go of that is the love that's already there within you, who you actually are. There you are. And it's like and like I said, I've been doing that with pain as well. It's just like not really trying to when I'll be healed, am I gonna all these fears. It's like I'm not gonna have fear about it anymore. I'm not gonna try to change it. I'm not gonna if it heals right now, great. If it doesn't, okay, whatever. I don't give a shit anymore. If these feelings, I'm just gonna observe the pain I'm feeling. Just sit with it. Let that just slowly just start to leave awareness. It's weird how when you just surrender it to God, it's like this is ultimately I can't control my heartbeat. I can't control my breath. I can't control my breathing. I can't control my immune system. I can't control if I cut my arm. I don't got to think about I got to send some clotting shit over here, and probably should send some white blood cells. I don't got to worry about these things, because ultimately, getting a lot more understanding about like I think I've heard it called the dual mirror, very similar to this concept, which I can kind of share. If you take this guy and subtract the body aspect of it, think of the body, the brain as a receiver. As a receiver, and the already manifested is previously who you are, basically being projected out in this way that's symbolic, metaphorical, and ultimately you go within, you ask God what these things mean outside of yourself. From my understanding, it's like it already was, and it's by the time it manifests into physical reality, you see it. And it's like maybe this way is easier to describe. It's like with music. It's like by the time you make the track and publish it, then you like check it out like a week later, you almost hear the maybe flaws. You don't want to judge it, but like it's like you're not the same person now as when you made it. Even though when you made it, you might have felt a sense of like satisfaction that you created something, you put it out there, but now you look at it and you're like, well, maybe next time I'll turn the bass up, or I'll turn, and then you start critiquing it for next time. It's very similar to what's happening in your day to day. It's where it's like you see these interactions, you see these circumstances, and all this type of stuff. And instead of reacting to the circumstances and the events and trying to fuck with the already manifested, not sitting there judging it, really extending only love to it, where it's like you don't want to sit there and put out a vibe of I want something to be tormented. I want to torment that thing. I want to torment that person. It's like, from my understanding of love, it's just, fear has torment. So we already are well aware of what fear is. We were just in that. That's what the old man was. So letting go of the old man, you start to get a greater understanding of what love actually is. But then putting that energy out there towards others. But like with the dual mirror, realizing that your consciousness is somewhere else. It's not in the brain. It's not in the physical like that. But where, yeah, it's like kind of difficult to describe these things, but it's like, we do one of these. Let me turn that down. There we go. Yeah, so we have this kind of thing going on. Just imagine this is you as your conscious awareness of just being. It's like it doesn't matter what's going on. If you're in a dark room, if you're in a bright room, you know that you exist. And in that, that's where your consciousness is on this side of the mirror. if you kind of identify with over here, like this is who I am. I'm a body. I'm just playing around in the matrix, reacting to things. The old you was constantly just reacting. It wasn't creating. It wasn't doing any of these things. Realizing that everything that your experience is being drawn to you now, instead of you pushing it away and through force you're going to do it, you start identifying more and more so as the conscious awareness that's on this side of the mirror. And with that, realizing that your state of consciousness, you attract basically who you are and who you think you are. When you're out here and on this side of the mirror, it's like I'm just reacting to everything. I'm just in the world and reacting and through force trying to make things happen. But when you're over here on this side, when you're in consciousness, you're one with God. Only love is real. And when you start to do that, well, then you push that out, or you don't push it out. God pushes it out and then shows you on this side in the already manifested. So it's like as you start to really let go of the fears, and so what happens is if you have a bunch of fear in your consciousness, like on this side, it's not who you are, but it's just programs. On this side of the mirror, then you'll see the fear getting pushed out. But when you drop it, you let it go, surrender it, it goes away, and then you start to see that reflection change on the outside. That fear is gone, and you start seeing more oneness. You start experiencing things more and more so like that. At least that's how I'm experiencing it, and I'm not special or unique. We're all one, so all one in the body of Christ, basically. And so if it's just something I'm experiencing at the moment of like how I'm processing, just surrendering, letting it go, and how then seeing the synchronicity and how that interchange starts to change the external. And that's for you to experience too. And so hopefully that's helpful. And hopefully by letting go, surrendering, your external reality starts to reflect that more and more so each day, and you experience more joy and love and peace in your walk and in your life and in your connectedness with God, who is love ultimately, and perfect love casts out all fear. And fear has torment, so God does not have torment. So that's one way to really work on this thing. And so other than that, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing. I appreciate your attention for this long. Your attention is the most valuable resource in this realm, and so hopefully I've been a good steward of that. And other than that, I like to wrap things up with a quote unquote random Bible verse. Nothing's random. God's 100% in control of literally everything and speaks to us in the moment. And I just want to give God a chance to speak to you, who's ever listening now. Let's see what God's got to say. Mark 10:36, and he said unto them, What would ye that I should do for you? There you go. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys, and have a good rest of your now, and God bless.